It's March 11th, 2025, and we're going to call together this meeting of the City of Gallatin Council Committee. We'll begin with the roll call, and Ms. Kittrell will do the honors, please.
Vice Mayor Hayes.
Present.
Councilman Alexander.
Present.
Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilman Jones.
Here.
And Councilman Juvance. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. This evening you have the minutes from the February 25th, 2025 Council Committee meetings for your consideration.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second over here? Okay, thank you. Motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilman Jones. Are there any requests for corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the February 2025 Council Committee meetings minutes, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right.
Abstain, Mayor, I wasn't here.
Okay, that's fine. So they're passed 6-1, or actually passed 6, 0 no's, 1 abstention. We'll go now to public recognition. Because this is a committee meeting or a work session, as I tend to call it, all of the public recognition is at the beginning of the meeting. And so you may speak to an item that is on the agenda or to one that is not on the agenda. You'll have 5 minutes to do so. You need to give us your name and your address for the record. And I think that's all the guidelines. So with that, public recognition is now open. You may come speak if you would wish to. Okay, seeing no one indicating they wish to speak, I'll declare public recognition closed and move to mayor's comments. I do have just a few events. At the end of the meeting, I will have some street closure things to talk to you about. Events coming up. Must mention that it's Councilman Fan's birthday today, and he's at council meeting with us. Starting on tomorrow, we're going to begin budget meetings. They happen this week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then this Saturday is the Winter Farmers Market at the station. There's also a pretty big event happening downtown on Saturday in association with the Farmers Market. And this is the launch of the Wi-Fi and Kiosk project. This is a project funded by Meta to benefit downtown. It includes Wi-Fi for all of downtown, much like we had many years ago, but over the years the technology has changed and the equipment has kind of lost relevance. And so Meta has funded new downtown wireless and a wayfinding kiosk that will direct users to all the things that are within walking distance and information associated with it while they're downtown. I've not played with the kiosk yet, but I actually had seen one. We've been working on this project a long time, Rosemary, right? Probably a couple, 2-3 years ago, I saw a similar kiosk elsewhere. And now we're going to have one right in downtown Gallatin on the street that people can utilize. And so we would invite you to join us for that kickoff launch party from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. There is a St. Patty's Day pub crawl, 5 to 10 p.m. I don't really know anything about that. It's just on the calendar. I assume it's happening downtown. On Monday, I don't usually mention the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, but this one's particularly of interest because Michael Skipper, who's the Greater Nashville Regional Council Executive Director, will be speaking. And I think a lot of people have a lot of bad information about what GNRC actually does. And he will be there to talk about it because like one of the things they're doing is hopefully validating our census for us very soon. Budget meetings again next week. Jeff Henschel's birthday is next week. And I think that is all for my comments or events this evening. And so with that, we will move on to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda this evening is an update on Project Phoenix with Ms. Bates, Executive Director of Economic Development.
Currently, Project Phoenix is in their 10-month design phase where all of the work is being done by them and their continued process. They are working with a company called Historical Concepts, which has been to Gallatin more than once to visit the downtown and get a feel for the community, and mainly an eye for the architecture and what might fit in to the downtown area. Secondly, they are working with the Reagan Smith on all of the engineering function of putting the project here, which is how would it fit topographically, other infrastructure, electric, gas, water, sewer, and those sorts of things. I do not have intimate details on any of that, but if you have a question and if you were something in particular you wanted to find out, I'm happy to either try to answer that tonight or get an answer for you. And I know, Councilman Javons, you had wanted it on here, so I didn't know if that covered what you wanted to hear or not.
I got asked by constituents about getting an update, so I asked for it, but you know, I'm kind of shy of asking a question because last time I got shut down by the council with a kind of bizarre imaginary motion to not answer the question. And when I say bizarre imaginary, I mean that in a friendly, funny way.
I don't know what you said,
Not,
so.
not, you know, not to be snarky. I learned from the best. That was funny. You see, I'm funny. I'm going to use that so much. That was such a great sentence by Mayor Brown. So I want to thank Connie's office because when I don't get answer, I use all the tools I have. So I made a record request. Was kind of sad somewhere because instead of having a direct answer, now that was 2 months of work by people who cost money. And I got more than 500 pages of documents. So in case people don't realize what 500 pages is, that's that.
A ream of paper, yeah.
That's a ream of paper. And it was really great that by doing that, I got more than I wanted. Including...
Tried to cover everything. So
I
we
know,
didn't leave anything
including
out.
how we get called if we disagree, haters and stuff like that, or comments when we make question. That's unbelievable to ask questions. So, and things who kind of hit me hard, because I remember when we started to talk about that project, I asked if we will provide a pilot for that project, and I got said no. Where in the email thread, talk about pilot, talk about TIF too, and I'm sure you can explain that better than I do. TIF, I think you put
I'll
that...
actually step in on that. Looks like you just want information, so you could stick her with that, and that's probably not very nice either. But the pilot and the TIF conversation has come up because there were things that we were thinking were going to be the city's responsibility that now we're thinking that they're going to build, but they're going to ask for some kind of, or they hadn't asked for anything, but figuring out what that looks like, which actually would help us because then we wouldn't be responsible for borrowing the money to invest whatever it is we needed. But I think there's still a lot of moving parts, and I don't think we've been close to getting to the point where we have enough information to make a call. I mean, I think there's still a lot out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually had a conversation with the department heads yesterday about kind of where I am on some things related to it, which Rosemary and I happen to differ on, but with the department heads, I just told them what I was getting feedback from in the community and what I was thinking, but we don't know. We don't know until they bring us something and we find out what things are going to cost and what it's going to look like. And
Yeah, but again,
To your point, whenever we have a prospect or a project, if they ask about what financing or cost measures or incentives are available, we'll share both of those ideas with them. However, we've never done a pilot for a commercial project, and I would not recommend that we do one for a commercial project. I do think that Boyle, as it should, because they are a private company and it is their job to look out for their finances and their due diligence to determine how much they can afford to build which means they will determine what they build. So they have asked about a TIF, but have not been knowledgeable, so it's been a lot of education and them talking to other folks who are familiar with TIFs, but there's not been any decision made. And
Yeah,
it's tax increment financing, and I'll be happy to share with you the difference at some point if you'd like to know what the difference is.
They pretty, like they put black and white, they were really encouraged by the potential thief. So when I hear that's going to help us, I'm wondering where that's going to help us, because that property doesn't pay any tax. So that means if they go for a thief, all the money they were supposed to pay on tax is going to go back to them. So we're
No,
not
it would
going to
go
get
towards the project, part of it which
Right.
would be city property.
part of the project they
And-
will use a thief for.
Okay, yeah, this really,
It's really very premature to have this conversation because they have
That's my
not.
point.
and,
That's,
and. when
Excuse me if you'll let me finish. It's really premature to have that conversation and dump this idea on them that they're going to ask for one. Do I think they might? I think it's possible. Do they know what they want to ask for yet? No, absolutely they do not. And so I don't think it's fair to try to negotiate something here tonight and have alarm bells going off with people that are unnecessary when they haven't actually asked. And if they do ask, I will guarantee you that the mayor and the mayor will insist, because that conversation has got to come to you, but it needs to come to you with a specific explanation of what that might be if they choose to pursue that, because they're all very
Let
different.
me interject. For those of you who are unfamiliar, and most of you probably are because we've not done one, when you do a TIF, what you're doing is you take property that isn't generating a lot of taxes and turn it into property that is generating a lot of property taxes. And those property tax increases used to pay for infrastructure that I think it has to be for public use. We had an opportunity, I know, back when with the goat farm, because it was a public use facility. It didn't have another way to happen because there was not revenue that was going to support it. And in a development like this, a TIF could make sense because in addition to having the property taxes increase, you're generating sales tax and occupancy taxes that did not exist otherwise. And when you do a TIF, and I can't lay out all the parameters in Tennessee around it, but you still keep your school system whole, you still keep your
Bond indebtedness
you
whole.
keep your debt payment, but we wouldn't be losing anything. We'd actually still be gaining something in theory, because we would be realizing sales tax and occupancy tax, and then once whatever the TIF is for is paid off, then you get those property taxes, and then a pilot's somewhat different. So
Has anybody come up with an approximate date when they'll have a plan together to present?
Their deadline for the earlier inspection phase ended on November the 8th. They have 10 months from November the 8th to provide a proposed site plan, conceptual design of the project with elevation drawings, together with their assessment of zoning and permitting for the project. And currently, it appears that the zoning would not have to be changed. It currently would allow for them to do what they want to do. A stacking plan, phasing plan, construction schedule, and all of this must be approved by the governmental parties, meaning that not only would the city council have to approve it, it's going to have to go through the planning commission process as well. So it would follow that process. Normally, in planning, the concept site plan, development plan goes to planning first. And then it comes to you if it requires your vote. This would not necessarily, at this point today, require it to come to city council, except that it's a huge project. And I would strongly recommend that you see it, the concepts, and sign off on the general concept before it goes through the minutia and the where's this tree going to go? Where's that bush going to go? Is it 80% brick? That kind of thing before it goes to the planning commission. Because if you see something that doesn't suit you, you can
I
change
think with it having a city hall component and a parking component,
Yeah.
and honestly, an interest to all of downtown component in the city, that it definitely would need to come here.
Yeah.
Plus, we have to consider the cost, so.
Well, they also have to bring a budget and a financing plan. And then this step, which they have 10 months to do, if you decide it's not going to work, then it ends and you would be paying Boyle their cost at that point. And then that's the bulk of these 10 months that they're in.
That would put it at September.
My question is still the same. For me, it's putting the cart before the horses, because how are we going to pay for it? Again, still same question. I haven't got an answer to that. We're going to have
Pay
to...
for what part of it?
For everything.
Well, we're not
on our
building-
side.
Okay, what
They're
would be everything
they're not
on
gonna
our
pay-
side?
They're not going to pay for moving. If we move that building, they're not going to pay for that. We need a new fire station
Correct.
to move. That's $16 million.
Which has to move regardless.
Who has to move regardless? Exactly. That's
So we're
my
not
point.
factoring that into
need to
this
move
project,
first
yeah.
before we try to do anything else.
Right.
A new police station, I don't have a number, but of what I see, what that costs to build right now, it's probably around $10 million to build. The city hall,
Is that a question? Because
No, look,
the police department would be in phase 2, and they haven't given us a timeline for that.
no, but I'm talking about numbers, okay? The city hall, if I go to the numbers we're giving to us, if I go on the lower side, is $18 million to move.
Okay, I
Right.
still don't know what the question is, because a lot of this has not been determined, so.
No, I mean, the
the mayor
numbers are
centers-
not illegitimate, but again, we
Not yet.
can't make those decisions until we know how much money we're talking about and what kind of revenue it's going to generate and what the whole plan looks like. And we've
So,
agreed
exactly.
to a
So
process.
why
you can
are we-
sit here right now and be mad about it, or go through the process that
I'm
we're
not
committed to
agreeing
talking
going
about
this
it.
through.
I'm just
process.
asking the question
But we
who are
can't-
asked to me by constituents who
Okay.
look at that project
But-
and say, who's going to pay for it?
So you tell them where we are in the process, what we have agreed to, and when the final decision will be made. The answers are not there yet.
They have 6 more months to bring those answers. So within the next 6 months, there should be specific answers
And
and a
believe me, I'm
conversation.
mindful of every bit of that, as I hope you all are, but these things exist as future needs regardless of how they happen.
But again, we're not talking about, of what I hear, there is plenty of things I don't hear about, and I want to hear about it. Logistics, okay? I never heard anybody talking about logistics. If that building goes down, what we're gonna do? Where are we gonna move people?
Okay, and see,
Well, are you
these
run-
are things that you can't do logistics on until you know facts.
We know facts,
You're wanting us to
right.
create facts from things we don't have. If this building gets renovated, it looks different than if this building is torn down and rebuilt.
Yeah.
Depending on what opportunities there are in the community for us to relocate and create, do the work that we're charged with doing, there's a lot of different scenarios. I think about the things all the time, and I have ideas, but until I know what the real situation is, there's no logistics to be sharing with anybody.
If you have ideas, share the ideas. People want to know what's going on, and telling people who will know in 6 months doesn't work.
But you can't share
doesn't
all
work.
the ideas until you have their preferred site plan to know
Well-
what they're going to pursue.
And this is such the pointless argument. And I also would not share the ideas because there's a private person that benefits in some of them. So why would I put that out there?
Yeah.
And there's also there's a partial public solution. There's different ideas that are out there, but until we know facts of what we're at and the time frame,
Yeah.
We can't, you can shake your head and be upset that I can't tell you something factual based on information that we don't have.
I'm not upset. I don't know why you think I'm upset. You never seen me upset, and hopefully you won't see me upset.
That sounds threatening, sir.
No, it's not
Sure
frightening. It's just fact. It's a fact. I meant that on a funny kind of way.
No.
Sorry.
I didn't take it as funny.
And again, when I went and looked at all the stuff I saw, I came back to the MOU and the hotel, and I know we disagree on that, but again, if I read what's on the MOU, at the end, it says, branded hotel reasonably approved by the governmental parties. How can I approve something when I don't know what it is?
Well,
Not asking you to approve
the
anything at this
council
point.
voted on that statement and gave them permission to move forward, and you were here that night, and I think you voted for it, and then later came back and asked a question. So that's
The question
water
I didn't
over
got.
the dam, under the
No,
bridge.
it's not.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
Yeah, really, this body should deliberate. I don't want the department heads put in positions where they feel like they have to deliberate and defend.
And defend what
You
we're,
can-
our job.
I understand, but, I mean, I don't know what we can do to satisfy whatever your concerns are at this point. There's not anything.
Motion to move on to number 2.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fan, second by Councilman Fennell. Any discussion on moving on?
Yeah, I'm going to make a discussion. Why? Okay, let's move on, whatever.
It must be specific to moving on if you would like to discuss. Okay. All in favor of moving on to item number 2, please say aye. Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, we're moving to item number 2, which is Resolution R2503-8. Resolution authorizing a donation of surplus gear washers to the Southeast, Gallatin, and Oak Grove Volunteer Fire Departments. Chief Beeman.
Good evening, council and mayor. This agenda item is just to request permission for the fire department to donate a surplus gear washer to the Southeast, Gallatin, and Oak Grove Volunteer Fire Departments.
Motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Vice Mayor Hayes. Any questions, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving forward Resolution R2503-8, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously. Item 3 is Resolution R2503-9, a resolution revising the adopted utility easement acquisition procedure. Mr. Kellogg, Public Utilities Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Good evening, council. This is a resolution to update the utility acquisition procedure. It was originally adopted in 1999, updated in 2015. Really, all the update in it is to reflect the change in property values in the last 10 years. We're going from $5 a linear foot to $8 a linear foot for lots bigger than an acre, and for lots smaller than an acre, being able to go up to $12 a linear foot. It keeps us from going through an appraisal process. It makes our projects go a little bit quicker, and most of the time, it's a little simpler to acquire easements this way.
Absolutely.
Move to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Juvent, second by Councilman Fennell. It's Resolution R2503-9. Anyone with questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of moving forward, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 4, Ordinance O2503-13. It's an ordinance appropriating $25,770 from the drug fund unassigned fund balance for the purchase of firearms. And Chief Sorrells is with us this evening.
This is no new money. This is money that we acquired through the sale of seized or surrendered firearms, and that's why we're asking for that specific amount of money. We're to use that to purchase duty weapons.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hayes, second by Councilman Carter. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor of moving forward, Ordinance O2503-13, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously. Item 5 is Resolution R2503-12. Resolution authorizing Gallatin Police Department to apply for the Tennessee Highway Safety Office Traffic Safety Office Grant. And Chief Sorrells again.
This
Just
is
that, right?
Yes, ma'am. This is a grant we would generally apply for every year and receive. It's $30,000 for purchase of safety equipment to be used for traffic and $30,000 for overtime.
Motion to move it on to council.
Motion by Councilman Carter, second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion, any questions? This is Resolution R2503-12. All in favor of moving forward, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Moves forward. Unanimous support. Item 6 is Resolution R2503-14. It's a resolution authorizing the donation of a vehicle to the Stewart County Fire Rescue. And Chief Sarles.
This is a 2010 Tahoe that we actually got from the fire department and we're able to use for a while. So this is actually Chief Beeman's vehicle that we're going to donate to the Stewart County Fire and Rescue.
Move to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Juvent, second by Councilman Carter. Any questions on that? In favor of moving forward Resolution R2503-14, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Moves forward to council unanimously. Item 7 is Ordinance 02503-14. It's an ordinance appropriating funds for the completion of the Vol State Gap Trail Phase 1B multi-use path. Aaron Hickson, City Engineer, or Assistant City Engineer, is with us this evening.
Yes, thank you. This appropriates the $100,000 donation we received from the Gap Multifamily Apartments. We'll use this to design the multipath connection from Gap Boulevard across the Vol State and Ford sites to the Gap Apartments property. Then in the 26-27 annual budget request, we'd include an amount for construction.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hayes, second by Councilman Carter. Are there any questions, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, it's Ordinance 02503-14. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Passes unanimously. Item 8 is Resolution R2503-13, resolution approving a waiver of engineering division and planning department application, permitting, and other fees related to the athletic facilities improvements at Station Camp High School and Gallatin High School. Mr. Hickson again.
Thank you. Yes, Sumner County Schools approached us wanting to do some updates to their athletic fields, so this would just be a waiver to their land disturbance permit and any planning application fees.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hayes, second by Councilman Carter. Any questions on this? Okay, it's Resolution R25. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember asking for the same thing for the airport, and I got turned down to get fees waived. So I don't know why we authorize one and not the other one. Schools, they have plenty of money. They just got $500K this year given by the EDA, so I don't see why,
I feel like I remember us waiving some fees for the airport authority very recently, but I can't say for certain.
No, that was not done, so.
I don't recall that. Okay. Had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, passes 6-1. Resolution R2503-13 moves forward to council. Item 9 is Resolution R2503-10. It's a resolution amending the City of Gallatin Personnel Rules and Regulations, Rule 17, Section 17-22. Jill Russell from HR.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Good evening, Council. We are asking that you approve this resolution to add general safety policy and PPE policy to this vacated Rule 1722 that was originally had a Rule 7 in it, which was our drug and alcohol policy, and we moved that to its own rule, to Rule 7 several years ago.
To council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Juvent, second by Councilman Carter. Any questions about this for Ms. Russell?
Well written. It's a good rule.
Much needed policy.
Okay, it's Resolution R2503-10. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Moves forward to council unanimously. Item 10 is Resolution R2503-11. It's a resolution to approve updated title and job description for the inmate crew leader position to general labor crew leader in the Public Works Department. Again, Ms. Russell.
We are asking that you approve this resolution to update the title and job description from inmate crew leader to the general labor crew leader.
Motion to Move to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Javon, second by Councilman Alexander. Any questions, any discussion?
So we don't have a crew leader right now?
We do have an inmate crew leader. I think we had 2 positions open. We would like to move this one, instead of having an inmate crew leader position open, a general labor crew leader position. We've had, I think, the inmate crew leader position open for about a year. It's a little harder to fill. Since the COVID outbreak in 2022, we haven't had as many inmates that are helping, so we would be better utilized moving this to a general labor crew leader position and filling it.
Thank you.
It's Resolution R2503-11. All in favor of moving forward to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 11 is Resolution R2503-15, which is a resolution appointing retirement plan committee representatives. And I'm suggesting that this is a committee that really hasn't been reconstituted in quite some time. So I am suggesting Rachel Nichols. Councilman Fennell has been on this committee, so I thought he would be good to continue on this committee. Troy Warren is the new, he's not a new employee, he's a longtime employee with the City of Gallatin. He's at GPU. I reached out to him and asked him if he would be willing to serve. I thought he would have good experience to bring to the committee. And Kate Nowitzki also has been on that committee, so I felt like it was good to keep her there. Beyond that, I thought I'd just pretty much ask for a volunteer from council to see if someone would like to serve on the pension committee.
I think Stephen would be good on there, or Todd, one or the other.
I will do it if Councilman Alexander doesn't want to, but I think he'll be a good representative just because I think he either retires soon or is recently retired. No, sir, I'm calling you seasoned. But you would have better expertise about that process than I would.
I'd be glad to.
Wonderful. I think that's good. A motion, I have a motion to, yeah,
Send these names with the addition of
Councilman Alexander. Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
motion by Councilman Carter, second by Vice Mayor Hayes. I thought, okay. All right. Everybody good? All right. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say no. It is not an intensely demanding position. You get to work with our finance director, and she's always a gem. So.
Just about 10 hours a week.
Rarely meet, so I think you'll be good on that. So that concludes the regular agenda. It brings us to other business. I have a couple of road closures. One is not technically a road closure, and I don't know if Mr. Hurd is here this evening because I have new lenses and I can't see out there. I don't think he is. Basically, he wants to know from this body, he's the one with the Trans Am Arama, remember, with Second Generation Graveyard. And he's done great things in this community. He did the Smokey and the Bandit run a few years ago. He brings a lot of Trans Ams and Camaros into this community for a large gathering. And he is, before going through the street closure process, he really wanted feedback from this body because he is asking for one thing that to me is hard to fulfill, but I want your position on it. What he is asking for, well, let me give you a little bit of background. They're going to be hosting the Tennessee Trans Am Arama again this year from the 24th of July through the 27th of July. That's a Thursday through a Sunday. They expect 125 cars, about 250 people. Before, they've had the cars lining the streets on the square, and there's tons of people that come out to see them, and they take pictures, and they have some, I don't know, I'd characterize them as almost Comic-Con type characters with some of the cars and stuff. It's a real fun event for people of all ages. He is wanting 2 street closures. The first street closure, and this is the one that I have some concerns with, but ultimately this body can certainly make the determination. He wants to close it on Friday from 4 p.m. till 10 p.m. He would like to close Northwater from Prince to West Main, as well as the square. He said they would hire a parking traffic control company to close the roads and staff the closures. He says we will need to be able to post no parking signs several days prior to the event so that there won't be any cars in the event area where the closures occur. Now, I think that you could offer to let them put up signs that say there will be no parking allowed at this date, but we can't say no parking for multiple days. But you could say this will be a no parking area at this time on this date. So I think we could compromise on that. The 4 o'clock, I'd originally said I'm not comfortable with before 6 o'clock, and he said that would not be acceptable to him. He would likely move it elsewhere if we couldn't accommodate the 4 o'clock closure. So that's, so I'm bringing it to y'all to see how you feel about it. So that's the first street closure. Now, the second street closure, I don't think there's any concern with. And this is on Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And they want to close West Franklin from North Water to Foster. They plan to hold a community pancake breakfast hosted by the first responders. It's a fundraising event for the Gallatin Police Department Shop with Cop program. And really, he wants y'all's thoughts before he goes through completing the form, because they want to do it all for naught, and I understand that. Councilman Juvon, you recognize?
From what I heard last year, that was a good event for the business on the square. They were really pleased about it, and I agree with you on the parking. They could put sign even 2 days before. That should not be an issue. My question on stuff like that is that what do we do if there is a car parked there?
I do not, and we have dealt with this with multiple events. I can't think of any where we've gone in and towed somebody. They just, like even on Third Thursday on Main, if there's a car in that L, they just work around it.
And I have no problem with the 4 p.m. closure if it's announced enough in advance so people know about it, and broadcasted enough on different media that people understand that's going to happen.
Friday is a very high volume traffic time. The courthouse doesn't close until 4:30. City Hall doesn't close until 4:30. And to expect everybody to have their cars out by 4 p.m. is a heavy lift.
Could we do like ask him about 5 o'clock?
I can ask. I can ask.
I was there last time.
I imagine he'll watch this meeting and he'll kind of.
It's a great event, and I think the square activity adds to the event for a lot of people. But it is, once they all start coming in, it is challenging at that time to get everybody in and get them parked. So it takes a while to navigate through that. I see the difficulties of it being at 4 o'clock. Maybe he'll be at 5, but still, I'd like to see it on the square again rather than go somewhere else.
And is he wanting like this parking lot over here at City Hall, or just everything on the square?
No, he's wanting the square. Somewhere in this, he wanted the parking at City Hall, but I didn't tell you that, so I need to figure out where that was.
That'd be easier to do the City Hall parking?
Well, we asked that last year, and that's just really not the aesthetic and the ambiance that they're seeking. And I get it. It's pretty cool to be able.
Or we could do, because I know we do that for the parade, the stage area on the parking on the City Hall, so they can come here at 4, stage there, and when we decide the closing, they're right there. They can move the car on.
Oh, stage here.
Stage,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Get them the.
Yeah, but even staging in this slot at 4 o'clock on
at 4
a
o'clock,
Friday
and we
is
close
so
at 5.
impossible.
And at 5 they can.
You couldn't get any cars in this parking lot at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. It's full. So that's kind of my concern with things. It's just the general congestion that you have at that time of day.
Last time, I think they started parking like at 5 or 5:30, right?
I don't know. I don't recall. And I
Because
think
it was kind of evening and kind of cooling
And I'm not
off.
sure, like, I kind of feel like before that maybe they did it on a Saturday night, which is a whole different traffic circumstance, and maybe on a Thursday night another time. So,
People's got to have time to get home.
yeah.
Just talk with them and see
But,
what you can do.
we also, do a homecoming parade through the middle of downtown at like 2 o'clock on a Friday, so.
See if he's willing to go 5 o'clock.
I will. I'll talk to him, but I think if he listens to this meeting, that he'll get the sense that you all want to work with him and that you appreciate the event, and we want to find a way to make it
Absolutely.
work.
Mayor, he was asking to close from Prince to where?
To Maine,
Okay.
yeah, that whole little strip. so.
Last time, he had it pretty full. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was great.
And then too, I think, I agree with Councilman Juvon, said we need to give a bunch of notice, but, with him having to get the signatures from the
this case, we would probably have to send these people home early and also let the courthouse know what's going on.
Gotcha.
Because they typically would not sign off on this, and they would be like, what the heck is going on? And I suspect there's some courthouse employees parking up there.
Is the parking garage full during the day?
Huh?
Is the new parking garage full during the day?
I think it is at times, it's not always, and it probably would not be at Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. I kind of bet
Maybe
most
they
of your
could
courts are,
Park there and maybe take a little walk, that would help.
yeah. Yeah, and I think most of the courts will be completed by 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, I doubt, yeah.
Would it be a bad thing for us to say that everybody from City Hall just go home at 4 o'clock or go home at 3:30 on that day?
What we would do is say.
Or work from home or something?
We would say we need the slot cleared at 4 o'clock and give them the opportunity to adjust their work schedule as needed.
Or park elsewhere.
Or park elsewhere, because some will park off-site, and, depending on how that weekend falls, some people may still need to be here, and some may not, so.
We have the new one down there, we just paid.
What?
The new, are we using that parking lot? We just got repaired at the chamber?
Typically, we've always had cars over there. I haven't
used, yeah.
parked down there
I've
myself.
seen it usually.
Because we have that, we have the one near the flower back there.
We clear this lot frequently for other
Yeah.
things, like for the Square Fest and stuff. So,
Well, just
yeah,
get back with him and
4:30.
say,
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
get back with him.
Well, he'll still have to do the road closure form and bring it here. Okay, so the other road closure application is more consistent and regular that you're, used to. The first happens this is from Historic Downtown Gallatin. And so the first is on the 26th of April. You can guess what that's for. It's for Square Fest. They are asking for a start time of 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, and that is Water Avenue from Prince to Main, Public Square from Main to Water, and Main from Locust to College. And I'm hesitant because she has 5 p.m. as the time they would open the street, and I actually don't think that that's accurate, and I actually think that no, I see what she's, okay, I'm looking at the event information, and the actual closure request is from 7 p.m. Wait, no. Okay, no. All right, so she's requesting 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., but I think load-in actually begins at like 6 a.m. Does anybody remember? 7? So,
And then you have an hour, you have to be out of there by 5.
6, I think. I think it goes until 5.
Whatever, you have an hour.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that, I'm going to change this from 6, you said 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is the load in, and 6 p.m. is the load out. And that way, everything should be closed up. So I'm going to ask that the closure be from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m., the streets that I requested, and closure for Square Fest on 4/26.
Motion to send no?
No, we can approve
Yeah,
it
motion
here.
approved.
Okay, motion by Councilman Carter, second by Councilman Alexander. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'm gonna put C times adjusted. Okay, and then the other requests are also from Historic Downtown Gallatin, but they're for the third Thursday event. Those are on there's several requests here. I'm trying to make sure everything's okay. On 6/19, 7/17, 8/21, and 9/18. She has the starting time as 7 p.m., which is actually the event starting time. I think typically we close it starting at 4:30. We'll certainly close it as late as they're okay with us closing it, but I think it'd be more appropriate for me to say 4:30 or 5. And then reopen by 10 p.m. by the time because you have to pack up all the chairs and the music and everything. So I'm going to change this to 4:30 or 5. I don't know what we've typically done in the past, and change it to 10 p.m. And it's water from Franklin to Main, and then it's the L of the square, as we call it. And she does have the signatures, I guess, for both of these, from the businesses, from the department heads that we require them. And
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Vice Mayor Hayes, second by Councilman Carter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'm going to say this is approved also on 311 and to check times. All right, that's all I have. Is there any other business from this body, from the council? Mr. Javance?
Thank you, Mayor. That came in a conversation, so I would like to, same thing, figure out an answer on that. I talked once about the comments on Greenlee. You're all familiar. St. Blaise back there, the giant development, apartment, townhouses, single family. The comments and at Greenlee or at St. Blaise, one or the other. The one who's on St. Blaise and Greenlee development.
So you've had constituents comment on that you're trying to?
That came in a conversation where that development came to us initially as a privately owned unit.
Okay,
And they changed that to rental only.
okay.
Everything is rental, single families, townhouses, apartments. The question that came in the conversation is, now that they moved to commercial instead of private, what are we doing to treat them as commercial on the permit side? Because it's a different, on the commercial, they need sprinklers.
I think,
And so what are we doing about that?
no, I think commercial on the property assessment piece is very important, but I don't know if we permit homes differently based on whether they're going to be rental or live-in, because those things can change at any time, right? And then the sprinkler thing doesn't have anything to do with it being for rent or to own. That is structure dependent. Do you know, can you answer for me? Brandon, introduce yourself, Brandon.
Brandon Howell, Assistant Director, Building Codes. As far as commercial, I think we're talking about Greenlee Commons.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So the townhomes and the single-family dwellings were, I believe, are permitted as residential. All of the apartments that are being built at this time are permitted as commercial. Each building is permitted as commercial, but the interiors are also permitted as residential. So it's a combination on the apartments, but all the apartments are all sprinkled. And I believe, if I'm correct, I'd have to go back and look at this, the townhomes that were built there got in underneath the previous sprinkling the townhomes as we,
So
the body
they're
passed
not bound by the current regulations?
under that. I'd have to go back and double check that.
Well, and I know that in the past, we've had discussions with, like, when projects come through, are these going to be rental or are these going to be purchased? And then I've been cautioned, you can't make a judgment based upon that, and it can be either at any
Correct.
point, so you treat them as residential unless they are a multifamily development.
We've had several, and I can't pinpoint every one of them, but there's several townhome complexes that have been built, and they were built under the residential code, which is the proper way to do it. And then after they're completed and CO'd, we really don't have any control on after that. On our part of it is being CO'd. So what they do with them after that,
I do think that doesn't have anything to do with you, but the county assessor, I do think they're doing a better job at catching, like when a single owner has multiple properties within a city, taxing them at a commercial rate.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else with any other business this evening? Department heads, it is your turn. We have a lot of people on spring break this week, and a lot of people who aren't. So thank you all for being
Motion to
here.
adjourn.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hayes, second by Councilman Fennell. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, everyone, have a lovely night. Thank you for being here. Enjoy this beautiful week. Reminds us that spring is near. I see Miss Nixon.